But as soon as he flew into a rage, he shattered and shook everything like thunder. That is why they called him the Shaker. He took a liking to Leda, the Swan Maiden. He began to hunt for her, but he could never catch her. Leda kept slipping away from him. When Tyndareus heard that Leda had disappeared from Saqqara, he set out to search for her in the mountains and forest thickets. He did not find Leda in the mountains and forests. Instead, he found in the thicket of Taygetus, near a lake, a silver egg, even larger than the one Leucippus had found. And from that egg on Taygetus came forth two extraordinary youths, in radiant beauty and might. They were like gods, and such light emanated from them, as if each one carried the sun within him. They considered themselves children of Zeus, but they themselves did not know whether they were mortal or immortal. One was given the name Castor, and the other the name Polydeuces. But rumor named them Dioscuri, sons of Zeus. And the brothers, Castor and Polydeuces, loved each other as the right hand loves the left, as one drop of water loves another drop of water. A thorn dared not scratch one without the other immediately being wounded. A wave dared not wash one without immediately washing the other. Tyndareus led the youths away to Laconia, and there he was considered their father. And indeed, what was a Titan giant to them if not a father? Only Tyndareus was from the race of long-lived, but now mortal, Titans. Castor could, like no one else, tame wild horses. Polydeuces could, like no one else, fell any half-god with a single blow. Sometimes the twins would look at each other, and Polydeuces would say to Castor, "You, Castor, are morning, I am night. Beneath you is a dawn horse, beneath me, a black one. Your dawn horse cannot catch my black one. My black one cannot catch your dawn horse. We should get such horses that one horse could catch the other, no matter how far apart they might be." "I know such horses," said Castor. "Leucippus has two such white mares, the Leucippides. Truly, they have wings on their ribs. As soon as you approach them, they soar up like swans to the sky." "Well then, let us get them," said Polydeuces. "The Leucippides shall belong to the Dioscuri." Once, the Leucippide sisters were grazing as white mares in a meadow. Suddenly, the Dioscuri brothers sprang out from an ambush. The sisters had no time to strike with their hooves, no time to make 3 fateful leaps, when the horse catchers overtook them, leaped upon them, tightened a noose around their necks, and the Dioscuri became white-horsed. The Leucippide mares could not turn into swans, nor could they regain their maidenly form under the hands of the wondrous brothers. They only asked the catchers, "Who are you youths?" And the youths answered, "We are the Dioscuri." Then the Leucippide sisters entreated them, "We are not winged mares, we are maidens. Release us, Dioscuri brothers, and we will get you a herd of horses. In that herd are 2 wonder horses, like us, silver-white. Those are no ordinary horses, but swan horses. When they run at a trot, they are horses with 4 legs, but when they break into a gallop, they go in such a way that wings grow on them as they run, and they are no longer horses, but swans, and they no longer have 4 legs, but 2. Only those horses are untamable. Neither Titans nor half-gods could break them in, and they are uncatchable. Their necks are of silver. You cannot noose them. But seeing us mares, they will rush to us with wild neighing and a swan's cry. If you truly are the Dioscuri, then catch those horses and tame them. But release us to Leucippus." The Dioscuri answered the white mares, "We have heard of the Leucippide sisters, but have not seen them. Let us catch the untamable wonder horses. Then we will release you. Fly away. But if we catch up with you, do not blame us. Only swear to us by the Titan oath that before you gallop away from us, you will take on your maidenly form. You will not gallop away from us as mares." The white mares struck the ground thrice with their opal hooves, struck so hard that 2 clouds fell from the sky into the gorge. They swore to the Dioscuri by the Euronides dwelling in the depths of Tartarus, and carried the riders to Messenia, to the herds and flocks of the giant Aphareus, the brother of Leucippus. At that time, the horse herds and cattle flocks in Messenia were free. They grazed on no man's meadows and mountain slopes, and their main encampments were at Aphareus's. They hid themselves from the half-god catchers with the giant brothers, and defended themselves against wild beasts. If the herd sensed a yellow predator, a bull would stand against a lion, and you couldn't tell where the bull was, or the lion. Both were sheer might. If a bear went for a cow, the bear would seize the cow by the horns and onto its shoulder, and the cow would seize the bear on its horns, and up to the sky. Sheer might. That's nothing. But if a wingless lion dragon appeared, that was a different matter. What was a bull, even an aurochs or a wisent, before such a lion lizard? A lamb, no more. And if some bronze-legged, bronze-horned, fire-breathing bull monster appeared, what was even a lion among lions before such a bull? A kitten, no more. The bull monster would devour everyone. Then the help of a Titan giant was needed. The herds would stream to him like seas, behind his back, to his encampments. Apharius would whistle with a shepherd's whistle, a giant's whistle. He would hoot with a whole pine forest, and the herds and flocks, myriad-headed, would rush to him, the very earth thundering under their hoofs. Night. 2 white-horsed riders spread across the plains, glide over the mountain slopes, not touching the ground, like a milky mist before dawn. And neither the strike of hooves nor the snorting of horses can be heard. Only the air feels as if cleft in two. No sooner had the riders galloped up to the forbidden places of Apharius, where the horses clustered together for the night, than behind the herd arose an iridescent, singing neigh, as if 2 double flute pipes began to play, and after the neigh, a swan's cry. The herd parted, gave way, and 2 horses leaped out into the clearing in a white radiance. But were they horses? A bird beast of earthly beauty, not horses. Do they leap across the earth, or through the air? And they rushed straight to the white mares, to the Leucipides, and the mares veered away from them, and began to lure the white wonder horses away from Apharius's herds. The moon Selene froze in the sky. She gazes, cannot gaze her fill at this gallop dance of swans. Pale are her lunar horses before the horses of Apharius. Castor let one of the wonder horses come close to him, jumped on the gallop flight from the white mare onto it, and Polydeuces also leaped down onto the ground in mid-air stride and pressed the other horse's withers slightly to the ground with his palm. Both horses froze in place and just tremble all over, as if a spider web trembled under sunbeams. The Dioscuri brothers look at the caught horses. What horses? Are these horses' legs? Not legs, but strings. Is this a horse's neck? Not a neck, but a swan. Is this horse's hide? Not hide, but the white moon of early morning. They gazed in admiration and did not notice how the white mares, the Leucipides, disappeared. They looked around. No mares. Only 2 girls stand at a distance from them, Phoebe and Hilaira. As soon as the girls saw that the Dioscuri were looking at them, they waved their arms thrice through the air, lifted off the earth, and are already flying away as 2 white swans from the Dioscuri, straight into the clouds. And what swans? But the brothers are already on the swan horses. The horses are obedient to them. The horses gallop after the 2 swans, and on their flanks wings grow as they gallop. And now, indeed, they are no ordinary horses, but swan horses. They too fly up to the very clouds. They are catching up with the swans. Whether the pursuit lasted long or short, the swan maidens did not escape the swan horses. The Dioscuri brothers hold a white swan each at their chest, and Dawn Eos rushes towards them. The tale of the 3 brothers, Titan giants of Apharius, Leucippus, and Tyndareus, and of the sharp-sighted Lycius. More than once the elder giants, the brothers Leucippus and Apharius, came together and spoke among themselves of the younger ones. Leucippus would say to Apharius, "You, Apharius, have sons, the Apharidi. I have daughters, the Leucipides. Would that the Leucipides were with the Apharidi. Would that the swan maidens were with the Titans." And Apharius would answer Leucippus, "Let it be so. Lynceus has worn out all his eyes looking. He gazes, cannot gaze his fill at the Leucipide sisters, although he sees through everything. It is time." The Apharidi themselves, Lynceus and Idas, were not silent either. Lynceus says to Idas in the morning, "I have seen the soul and body of Hilaira. Her soul is like her body, and her body is like her soul. Hilaira shines through and through. There is no maiden on earth brighter than she. Would that I could get Hilaira as a wife." He says in the evening to Idas, "I have seen the body and soul of Phoebe. Her body is like her soul, and her soul is like her body. Phoebe is entirely of sultry gold through and through. There is no maiden on earth more sunny than she. Would that I could get Phoebe as a wife. You cannot separate them from one another, just as you cannot separate the light of the sun from its gold. Would that we could take both of them as wives." Idas is silent, and again Lynceus says, "One of them is like a golden yolk, the other like an opal white. But the egg is one. You cannot separate the yolk from the white in it without breaking the egg. That is why both were born at once from one silver egg. I cannot take Hilaira without taking Phoebe. I cannot take Phoebe without taking Hilaira. Would that we could take both of them as wives." Idas is silent. He only looks towards a distant gorge, whose entrance is covered by a waterfall. And what a waterfall! It is all in rainbows, as if not a waterfall were plunging down, but the mantle of the Titaness Iris. And at last Idas says, "Take whichever of the Leucipides. Where one is, there the other will be." "Which of the TWO?" Lynceus would ask. "Take Hilaira." "And what about Phoebe?" "Take Phoebe." "And what about Hilaira?" And then the immensely furious Idas would laugh so hard that all the nymphs and satyrs in the mountains would hear that laughter and also begin to laugh. And their unceasing laughter would resound for a long time across the land of Titans and half-gods, until that laughter reached the very gods of Olympus. Then the gods would begin to laugh too. And amidst the laughter of the gods, Idas cried out, "Do not grieve, Lynceus, I will get both of them for you. The Leucipides will be yours. And the sharp-sighted seer Lynceus would run up to the mountain peak and begin to gaze into the distance, towards Leucippus' dwelling. Where are they now, the Leucipide sisters? He would look through the whole world, and Lynceus's eyes would find the Leucipides. No, it was not in vain that Leucippus said to Aphareus, "Let it be so." If a Titan said, "Letitbeso," then let it be so. With a Titan, once a word is spoken, it is spoken forever. You cannot turn it inside out, twist it this way and that, set it under sails to every wind. And it is not like that of the forest Pan, who just tears at his throat and leads travelers astray from the right path. The Titan's word is not whispered, not honeyed. It does not drip poison into the ear. The Titan's word is firm, strong with truth, like adamant. And suddenly, the Dioscuri stole the Leucipides. Howcanthisbe. As soon as Father Leucippus learned of the stealing of the Leucipides, he rushed to his brother Aphareus in Messenia. And Aphareus himself is already coming to meet him to tell about the theft of his white swan horses. The brothers shared their misfortune with each other and went to their third brother, Tyndareus the Shaker. Leucippus says to Tyndareus, "I have daughters, the Leucipides." Aphareus says to Tyndareus, "I have sons, the Apharidi." Tyndareus says to his brothers, "And I have sons, the Tyndaridi, called the Dioscuri." The three brothers, who know no deception, all three of Titan race, stand and want to find out. Howcanthisbe. Leucippus says to Tyndareus, "The Dioscuri stole my Leucipides, who were intended for the Apharidi brothers." Aphareus says to Tyndareus, "The Dioscuri stole my white swan horses, which were intended for Leucippus in exchange for the Leucipides." Lynceus and Idas set off in pursuit of the Dioscuri to take back from them the swan horses and the swan maidens. A great misfortune is coming. The Apharidi will not yield the maidens and horses to the Dioscuri. The Chronii gods will surely rejoice. Strife has begun among the Titans. Tyndareus says to his brothers, "The Dioscuri will not give up the maidens and horses to the Apharidi. A great misfortune is coming. An unheard of battle is coming. Apollo flew past here today on his swan team, and the swans cried out to me in flight, prophesying. Swans will go to swans. The swan will return to the swan." And so their prophecy has come true. The swan maidens have fallen to the Dioscuri. The swan horses have also fallen to them. Indeed, the Dioscuri themselves are of swan origin. The brothers Leucippus and Aphareus were astonished at Tyndareus's words. Tyndareus the Shaker was astonished at his own words. Howcanthisbe. Leucippus says to Tyndareus, "That is why the Leucipide sisters were born from a silver swan's egg." Tyndareus says to Leucippus, "That is why the Dioscuri too were born from a silver swan's egg." Aphareus says to his brothers, "That is why my winged swan horses are of the same herd as the swans of Apollo's team." The three brothers, three Titans, fell into thought. They had sons, they had daughters, they had horses, and now the sons are no longer their sons, the daughters no longer their daughters, and their horses, not their horses. Howcanthisbe. Then Tyndareus flew into a rage from such wrongness, and shook his hands in anger, shook them so hard that the mountains tottered, and small pebbles rained down from the mountains. And after the small pebbles, larger stones also rained down, and then quite large boulders began to roll. They roll, and Tyndareus keeps shaking his hands. Zeus Chronide saw from distant Olympus the shaking of the mountains. He glanced at the three brother giants, and among them at Tyndareus the Shaker somehow especially, and also shook, but only with his head, shook so hard that the mountains crawled into the sea like humpbacked tortoises. Let the Titan race know who is the strongest shaker in the world. The earth trembled to its very depths. And the three Titans, three brothers, said, "Here it is, the joy of the Chronides at the misfortune of the Titans." All three took each other by the hands, stood in a circle, and listened as the sky laughs above the earth. The Dioscuri are not strangers in Messenia, the Apharidi are not strangers in Laconia, just as their fathers, the elder giants, are not strangers. More than once the Apharidi walked with the Dioscuri across the field shoulder to shoulder or along a mountain path, one behind the other. The Dioscuri would meet the Apharidi at the Giants' Games. Idas would stand against Polydeuces and Castor against Lynceus. All four are giants. But who is equal to Idas in strength and stature? In stature, no one is his equal, and in strength, perhaps Polydeuces is. But they never seriously measured their strength in a fight, only in jest, for amusement. One would hurl such a boulder that from it alone a house could be built, and the other would hurl one no smaller. Idas would strike the top of a cliff with his palm and drive the entire cliff into the earth with a single blow. And Polydeuces would seize the top sticking out of the earth with the edges of his palms and pull the entire cliff out of the ground. And now the cliff is back in its place again. Polydeuces would lean his shoulder on a rock by the river, knock it into the river, and instantly dam the flow. And Idas would dive into the water, put his back under the fallen rock, carry it out of the river onto the bank, and even lift it up a mountain to knock it down on the very top of the mountain. And the next day, the half-god heroes marvel. Look, as if the mountain had grown twice as high. Such is their game of playing with pebbles. Such are Polydeuces and Idas. The Dioscuri marveled at Idas's strength. The Epheiridae marveled at Polydeuces' strength. The Dioscuri once jokingly attacked Idas 2 at a time. They could not overcome him even together. Idas was invincible for the Dioscuri. But Lynceus and Castor are also strong. Only their main strength lies in something else. In their sight, Lynceus could see straight through anything, while Castor could foresee danger. He too was sharp-sighted, but differently. Sometimes all four of them would go out for prey into the now unhappy Arcadia, to lead out horned herds from there to the rich meadows, and Lynceus would say to Castor, "Now I will ascend the mountain of boars, and through any thicket will see where which herd grazes. Idas will give his voice, and the herds will follow us." And Castor would answer Lynceus, "You see everything through and through, Lynceus. Only one thing you do not see, danger. You see yesterday's, but you do not see tomorrow's. But I do." And Castor would smirk. He knew that the Dioscuri would steal the white Mares from Leucippus. Just give it time. Indeed, what brilliance is in Lynceus's eyes. Are those not stars in them? What a gaze. This gaze penetrated any living body, pierced everything through and through, like a ray pierces a flower, its petals and leaves, and stem down to the very root. Sometimes, Lynceus would sit in the early morning on the peak of a cliff and gaze at the world, and into the earth, and into the waters, and into the sky, and see how the world was made. He watches how grass grows from the earth, how subterranean springs break through the soil to the feet of the naiads, how wingless dragons stir under the feet of mountains and swell with black fury, how the sea grows blind in the depths without rays and lies, eyeless, on its bottom, and all around the malachite palaces of Nereus and the Nereids rise. He sees how droplets run together and spread as a gray-blue haze across the sky, and amidst the haze, cloudy cows graze. Everything Lynceus sees through and through. He sees through bark, and through bone, and through stone walls. The crown-eyed gods frown. Why does he see everything through and through? He is no god, after all. The half-gods also marveled at the gift of Lynceus's eyes, but this piercing gaze, spying out the most hidden thing in the darkest corner of the living body of the earth and its creations, troubled them. And when Lynceus gazes into the distance, what is the sharpness of an eagle's sight before his? Blindness, and nothing more. Lynceus sees so far that if he stood at one end of the world and Idas at the other, he would see the other end of the world as well. Only Lynceus himself he did not see. He would look at himself in the mirror of waters, and everything at the bottom of a lake, river, or sea is visible to him. But Lynceus does not see himself, and Lynceus did not know what he looked like. Only in one mirror could he see himself, in the mirror of Hilaera's and Phobe's eyes. And now the Dioscuri have stolen this mirror of eyes together with the Leucippides. Lynceus will never see himself now if the Epheiridae do not take the Leucippide sisters back from the Dioscuri. Everyone sees themselves, but Lynceus the sharp-sighted does not see himself, Lynceus's heart clenched from anguish. And the Epheiridae brothers rushed in pursuit of the Dioscuri thieves. The tale of the struggle of the Epheiridae. With the Dioscuri, the thieves of the Leucippides, the swan horses, and the cattle herd. Who is it that ran past, galloped past, flew past? As if swans, as if horses, as if maidens, so white, like the silver fleece of mountain goats. Wind, Boreas. Look back. Tell us, who just rushed past there through the air, not touching the earth, as if too, white. My daughters, the white ice flows, do not run, do not gallop, do not fly. The angry Boreas threw down from the sky to the nymphs, and sliced the air with a sharp wing. What are horses, and maidens, and swans to me? I am no rival to the Dioscuri. Run away, you chilly ones, hide. I, Boreas, am roving today, and the nymphs of the land of Pelops know my Thracian manners. The Laconian nymphs scattered and, laughing, cry out to him from afar. The Leucippides have rushed past. You cannot catch them, Boreas. The Dioscuri race across the sky on their swan horses. In their arms are the swan maidens. In flight, Castor says to Polydeuces, "We have nowhere to fly in the sky. It is shelterless for us. We are not gods, only children of gods. We cannot keep flying without rest and respite. If Lynceus sees us in the sky, he will tell Idas, and Idas will hurl a boulder at us. He throws boulders right up to the sun. We must leave the sky. We must hide from the pursuit on earth. We cannot fight the Epheiridae. We have the swan maidens in our arms." The Epherity will knock us from the sky to the earth, or else they will hit the Leucipides. In flight, Polydeuces says to Castor, "We cannot hide in a cave, in the depths of the earth. Lynceus sees through the earth. We cannot hide in water, either. His gaze penetrates to the very bottom. There is no mountain so high where his gaze could not fly. There is no forest thicket so dense that his gaze could not run through it. Where on earth can we find refuge? Neither forest, nor mountain, nor cave, nor river will hide us from Lynceus." Polydeuces fell silent, and the swan horses keep rushing flying, and the swan maidens, the Leucipides, are under the Dioscuri's left arms, at their very chests. In flight, Castor says to Polydeuces, "Brother, there is one hiding place for us on earth. Let us hide behind the rays of Apollo's crown. He has laid his crown on the bare peak of the mountain called the Mountain of Rays, near the ravine of Taenarum, while he himself leads the round dances of the nymphs by the horse spring. The rays will strike Lynceus's eyes. Lynceus's earthly eyes cannot penetrate through the rays of the sun god. The sun of heaven blinds them." At first, Polydeuces rejoiced, but then grew worried again. He says to Castor, "How will it be for us at night, Castor, when there are no rays from the sun god's crown?" Castor says to Polydeuces, "At night, Lynceus's eyes will sleep. At night, Idas keeps vigil. Behold, below us is the ravine of Taenarum in black mist. Near it, we will descend onto the peak of the Mountain of Rays." And the Dioscuri directed their swan horses towards the earth. "Do not approach, traveler, the Taenarian ravine, where the entrance to the netherworld lies. Be you god, titan, or half-god hero, this is no place for joy. Pass it by. But if the black Kyr's banes drive you here to the ravine from the bright valleys and lemon groves and gardens where quince and pomegranates grow, do not lean over its bottomless depth. Do not listen to the voices of the Erinyes, the spawn of vengeance. The ravine will breathe a black cold upon you. And even if the ancient Helios, the Titan's sun, sparkles above you in all his magnificence and sends you his most golden rays, for you they will be farewell rays, and you will call noonday a sunset. This place is frightful even for the fearless. The half-god who descends there alive and returns afterwards to earth will only appear to be alive on earth. He is dead, for he cannot forget the descent into that black mist. And if he says, 'I descended into Elysium,' ask him, 'Why are your eyes empty? And why do you look around so fearfully, as if the unseen shades of Hades roam about you?' He will answer nothing. He will only look at you with empty eyes and walk away." To the ravine of Taenarum came the Epherity brothers, Idas and Lynceus. Lynceus says to Idas, "Are not the Dioscuri hiding somewhere near here with their prey? The Dioscuri brothers will reckon that we will not approach this gloomy place alive. Let us lie in ambush here, lie in wait for them. From here, the whole sky, the sea, and the mountains are visible." The Epherity lay low as two enormous bodies near the ravine, and two black shadows fell from them onto the sea. The brothers look. What is that brilliance on the bare peak of the cliff above the sea? Lynceus peers closely, but the rays of Apollo's crown strike his eyes, as if they had curtained the peak from him. Lynceus says to Idas, "Are they not there, behind the wall of rays, the Dioscuri with the Leucipides? Apollo is their helper. He has covered them with rays. They are children of his race." Idas says to Lynceus, "And your eyes are sun-like too. You are close to the race of the sun titans, the Heliades. I am all earthly, but in you, radiant one, there is a piece of the sky. Why then can you not see through the rays?" Lynceus answers his brother, "My ray eyes cannot overcome Apollo's arrow rays. My eyes cannot tear themselves away from the earth. I too am all earth." Idas says to Lynceus, "Keep watch here, Lynceus, while I drive here Aphareus's horned herd that grazes together with the horses. When the swan horses see it, they will rush to their native herd. The Dioscuri will be left horseless." He said this and vanished beyond 3 chasms. An old evening cloud wandered into those parts. It hobbles, old, across the sky. Now it steps forward and stumbles. Now it steps back and stumbles. It keeps losing its way. It descended, the old one, to rest on the cliff where the Dioscuri hid with their prey. And with its shaggy hem, it caught Apollo's crown. The brilliance of its rays dimmed for an instant. And Lynceus saw the Leucipides, and then the Dioscuri and the stolen swan horses. Lynceus's heart groaned. Between them and Lynceus lies the ravine of Taenarum as a black abyss. And across the abyss, Castor holds close to his chest the white swan Heliaera. Lynceus cried out to him across the abyss, "You did not hide from Lynceus's eyes, thieves. Give me Heliaera, Castor. Release her. Let her fly to me across the black mist." Castor laughed, released the white swan. But Heliaera, the swan maiden, does not fly to Lynceus. She only fluttered slightly, covered her eyes from the black mist. And again she lies as a white swan at Castor's chest. Lynceus's heart groaned. Lynceus cried out across the abyss to Polydeuces. Give me Phoebe, Polydeuces. Release her. Let her fly to me across the black mist. But Phoebe did not fly to him either. Lynceus stands beyond the ravine of Taenarum, stretches out his hands to the Leucipides, and does not know why the Leucipides do not fly to him across the black mist. Just then Idas drove the many-headed herd of cows to Lynceus. It was still coming at a distance behind when he saw the Dioscuri, and the brows of the furious Idas drew together menacingly. He became darker than a black cloud. Return to us the Eperides, swan horses. Idas cried out menacingly to Polydeuces. Release the Leucipides to Leucippus. And for each of the Leucipides, take from us a horned herd. Polydeuces answers Idas across the abyss. These are not your swan horses. They are of Apollo's herd. And if they are yours, then come and take them. And since when are the Eperides herds not Tyndareus's? These are Titan herds, free. Wherever they wish, there they choose their encampment. I myself will take them from you. The immensely furious Idas laughed and cried out. Then why did you not give my herd to Leucippus in exchange for the Leucipides? The thieves deceived the Titan. And Polydeuces answered, we will give it. Thus the strife grew between the Titans. Two cliffs tower above the sea, near the ravine of death, Taenarum, one in swirls of black mist, the other in the brilliance of the sun god's crown. On one peak stand the Eperidae, on the other peak stand the Dioscuri. And across the sky fly a black raven and a white gerfalcon, and the raven says to the gerfalcon, that is how it always is. Where it is blackest, nearby it is brightest. In the bright place, the Dioscuri with their prey. In the dark place, the robbed Eperidae. Let the Titans seek out the truth now. And the black raven and the white gerfalcon flew away. The old cloud also crawled off the cliff. Apollo's crown is no longer on the cliff. The young sun god celestial carried it away to the sky. Evening descended. Idas's herds began to low. The swan horses heard the lowing. They reared up, recognized their native herd, and shone wondrously on the peak of the cliff. They strained towards the herd, strained so hard that wings grow on their flanks, as when they run. Then Castor placed his palms on their backs, and the winged horses calmed down. The wings retreated back into their flanks, and the horses stand before the Dioscuri as horses once more. The Dioscuri galloped away with the Leucipides. The Eperidae also departed with their herds. They cannot catch up with the swan horses. They cannot win back the faithless swan maidens, the Leucipides. Morning smiles. Day jests. Evening smirks sadly. Night alone does not jest. Grave is Mother Night, and cruel and mysterious is her tongue. Idas says to his brother, close your eyes, Lynceus. You have looked too long today, and you have seen too much today. Your eyes are tired. This night I will watch over the herd. Sleep. Lynceus closed his eyes. He fell asleep. The herd of the Eperidae brothers grazes. On a stone sits Idas the watchman. He laid his mighty hands on his knees, rested his chin on his chest, and the nightly thoughts words began a conversation with Idas, lulling the watchman. Mighty are you, Idas. Who can overcome you? Who can hold back your hand, Idas? Will a thief creep up to the herd when you stand guard? Who dares? Sleep, Idas. Terrible is your name in Messenia. Even a god could not overcome you. And who is equal to Apollo in strength? Oh, and how mighty you are, Idas. Oh, and how terrible you are, Idas. Night. The thought's words hold a conversation with Idas, lulling the watchman. And in the gloom behind the bushes, Castor is already luring the herd away from the stone. Polydeuces already stuns the lead bull with his fist. He felled it to the ground and drags the submissive beast by its tail. And after the bull, the cows follow, chewing. The Dioscuri brothers reached their white horses, leaped upon them. They became white-horsed. They drove the Eperides herd away from the land of Messenia. And the nightly thought's words keep holding a conversation with Idas. Oh, and how mighty you are, Idas. Oh, and how terrible you are, Idas. Who dares? Idas the watchman sleeps. The Dioscuri walk ahead of the stolen herd. They release the white swan horses together with the Leucipides to Tyndareus. The swan maidens will no longer leave the brothers now. Castor says to Polydeuces, the Leucipides are now our wives. Lynceus will no longer see the swan maidens. We have driven away Idas's herd. Idas will no longer mock us, saying that we gave Leucippus no gift for his Leucipides. But this herd is of no use to us. Leucippus does not need it either. The land of Pelops is rich in herds. Let it run wherever it wants. If it wants, let it return to Eperius. We have washed away the insult. The gods rejoice, looking at us. They make merry, looking at the Eperidae. But it is not for us, the Dioscuri, to amuse the gods, even though we are the children of Zeus. We were nourished by Titan truth. Half-god heroes call upon us in battles and in storms. Why do we flee from the Eperidae brothers? For the swan has returned to the swan. Such is the thought of Gaia Earth. Lynceus was not born from a silver egg, as we were. Well, what of it? Many maidens' curls shimmer gold on the earth. We will find a sunny Titanus for him. And in the circle of half-gods, there are many such. And Idas has Marpessa, the river nymph, shimmering silver. Only Idas's pride is furious. Polydeuces answers Castor. Lynceus cannot tear the Leucipides out of his eyes. Their swan beauty stands in his eyes. Lynceus will not forgive us their abduction. And proud Idas will not forgive us the insult to his brother. He rages also for the disgrace. We, the invincible one, led away his swan horses and his herd. The Ephyridae are chasing us. The children of night waft around them, whispering in their ears, "Take vengeance." Did we not take vengeance on them? Vengeance is not a Titan's word, but a word of night. Night gave birth to it, and the Chronide gods gifted it to the white day. Look, Dawn Eos has bathed her horses in the sea's purple and laughs to us like a comrade. But black Nemesis Avenger stands on the mountain, does not depart into the subterranean gloom tonight. She will show the Ephyridae the way to us. We should, Castor, fight the Ephyridae, but we cannot overcome Idas. Look, here is a hollow in an ancient oak, a great ancestor. The hollow is large. It will hide us along with the entire herd. Once Zeus himself hid in it from the Titans. Let us lie in ambush for the Ephyridae here. Perhaps Lynceus's I will not peer into the hollow. Castor said, the Dioscuri to attack from an ambush? Is it you saying this, Polydeuces? Brother, we are the Dioscuri. Heroes invoke us in battles. It would be better for us not to hide in this hollow. Polydeuces said, I do not have the all-seeing eyes of Lynceus. His eyes will see us, the Dioscuri, but we will not see the Ephyridae. Our forces are unequal before the battle. And the Dioscuri hid in the hollow. Lynceus said not a word to Idas when he woke and saw his brother sleeping. He only gazed into the distance. And the Ephyridae brothers set off again in pursuit of the Dioscuri brothers, the thieves of the herd. What is the herd to them? They need only whistle, and new herds will run to them. The sword of insult burns them. The Dioscuri have shamed the Ephyridae, wounded their Titan pride, violated Titan truth with deceit. Now the Chronide gods laugh at enormous Idas and sharp-sighted Lynceus. They lost both the Leucipides and the swan horses, and the Dioscuri lured away their herd as well. How can they, the Ephyridae, now walk through the forest? The horned satyrs hoot after them. The dryads mockingly rustle their leaves at them from the trees. Idas bends to a spring to drink water, but the streams scatter from him in all directions under the rippling laughter of the naiads. Oh, and how mighty you are, Idas! Oh, and how terrible you are, Idas! And how will he now return to the river nymph Marpessa? Idas has become frightful from the burning insult. Do not stand in his way, forest beast. He will seize you by the hand, by your trunk or dragon tail, swing you, and dash you against the cliff. Only the birds in flight will catch the shreds of beast flesh. Do not fall in his path, you oaks and ash trees. He will tear you, ancient one, up by the roots and hurl you beyond the clouds or beyond the sea. Veer out of Idas's way, mountain streams, or Idas himself will turn your course aside and pour you all at once into the sea. Only splashes will remain of you on the bare stones. Lynceus's eyes burn with a wild fire. It is not brilliance in them, but a black flame, and from that flame, rays shoot out like crimson spears. Do not fall under these rays, living creature. Birds fall scorched from the sky from those rays. The trunks of pines stand charred from them. The pine needles underfoot smoke and smolder, and the water in the springs steams away. Frightful is the path of the Ephyridae brothers. This is it, Titan pride, torn by the sore of insult. Its adamant firmness has melted and flows as white-hot lava through the world of half-gods. And why is the spear in Idas's hand? Is not his heavy hand enough for him? And where did he find such a spear? Where did he find such an ash tree giant? He hurls it, and splits a cliff in two, let alone a warm living body. Morning, early, on Taygetus are the Ephyridae brothers. Now Lynceus ran up to the very peak of the ridge. He surveys the entire island of Pelops, and he does not hear how the dew from the flowers whispers to him. Do not look, Lynceus. He does not see how the dew nymphs sit, covering their faces and eyes with their hair, and tears shine in droplets on their hair. They whisper to him, do not look, Lynceus. Wash your eyes with pure dew, cool their fire. Lynceus is blind and deaf to everything. Only one thing does he want to see, the Dioscuri. Only one thing does he want to hear, their death rattle. There stands in the distance the 1,000-year-old guardian of the island of Pelops, a great ancestor, a giant oak. Together with the ancient Titan forefathers, it was born of Mother Earth Gaia. For a long time, centuries, the green dryad has no longer lived in it. Truly, time Kronos himself lives in it. The oak has dried up, turned to stone. And of all winged creatures, only one monster dragon, the Chimera, sparkling with all colors, lands on its stone branches. What a creature! wondrously shines on the middle of its back the face of the sorceress siren, and Chimera sings wondrously, and roars with a lion's maw, and bleats pitifully, and hisses whistles like a serpent. Truly, Time Kronos himself is just the same. He too looks at you all at once as a lion, and a serpent, and a goat, and a siren. He too roars, and hisses whistles, and bleats, and sings so seductively, as if he too had the voice of a siren. The great ancestor oak stands. It does not stir, even if all the winds broke their wings against it. Lynceus looks at the oak. What imperceptible stirring is there inside the oak? Lynceus peers more sharply into the oak. Beside him stands Idas with his spear. Like the dawn in the clouds is Lynceus, like the night before a storm is Idas. The sore of insult burns Lynceus's heart. The rays of Lynceus's eyes burrow into the oak's bark, pierce through it. There is the hollow. Not a hollow, but a whole den. Not just owls could hide here. A whole herd of horses could hide here. And Lynceus shuddered with wrathful joy. He cried out, "There, in the hollow, are they, the Dioscuri brothers, in the very heart of the oak, Idas." And so great was the wrath of his joy that Lynceus was ready to tear out his own eye and hurl it from its socket, as if from a sling, into that hollow, into the very heart of the oak, into Castor's heart. For yesterday, Castor had Heliera under his hand, at his very chest. But already it flies, already it pierces into the oak, already Idas's spear goes right through the 1,000-year-old trunk, and a distant cry of dying agony reached the ears of the Epherity brothers from the oak. Better they had not heard that cry. Better that Idas's spear had flown past the oak. The oak split in two, and to the right, a mountain of legs and interlocked horns fell out. The herd, bellowing in terror, with pierced bellies and sides. And to the left, the body of Castor crashed down. Over him stands Polydeuces with a hand raised to the sky, as if maddened, and a bloody stream pours from Castor's chest onto the stones of the cliff. Nemesis vanished from the mountain. Only Dawn, all pale, stopped her rosy horse on the horizon and gazes at the cruel blush that colored the stone in the place where the great ancestor oak once stood. That blush is not hers, not Dawn's. Lynceus wildly exulted. But when the sky darkened menacingly in the direction of Olympus and a shaggy cloud in blue lightnings descended to the oak, Lynceus seized Idas by the hand and said, "Let us go, Idas." But the immensely furious Idas did not budge from his place. He stood, lowering his head, and an enormous thought was heavily and slowly rising to his eyes. "Let us go, Idas." Lynceus said once more, "I have learned that Castor was mortal. Perhaps I am mortal too. It is not good for a living one to know that he is mortal. Let us flee, Idas." Then at last Idas understood the death of Castor and gloomily answered his brother, "Let us go? My spear is in Polydeuces' hands. I would crash a cliff down upon him. But Castor is dead." And so hastily did the gloomy Epherity leave the place of battle that the hare said to the squirrel. The Epherity brothers fled from the battle. And the squirrel repeated this to the nuts. And for a long time the nuts in the forest clicked about how the Epherity fled from Polydeuces. The tale of the fight. Of the Epherity with Polydeuces. At the gravestone. There is a stone in Messenia, not a stone, but a stone saddled by the spring Cyne. Under that stone lies an ancient Titan, cast down into the depths of the earth by the Chronide gods in the days of the great battles of gods and Titans. No one can lift this stone, save perhaps Atlas. The thunder hammers of Chronides riveted it to the soil. From that Titan who lies under the stone, the Epherity traced their lineage. And here, to the gravestone, Idas and Lynceus came from Taygetus. "Let us wait here," said Lynceus, and, looking over the enormous stone, asked Idas, "Brother, could you lift this stone and set it on its edge as a shield between the Epherity and Polydeuces, so that there would be no battle between us? Did you not say, 'I can do anything'?" And the immensely furious Idas answered, "I can, but Castor," and he looked so gloomily towards the ravine of Taenarum. "Polydeuces will come," said Idas. And, like an echo, Lynceus repeated after him, "Polydeuces will come." Silently, the Epherity brothers sat on the gravestone and waited. Heavy was the dome of the sky for them, the mighty ones, today. "He was our friend and brother," said Lynceus. And, like an echo, Idas repeated after him, "He was friend and brother." The Epherity brothers waited, and it seemed to them, the brave giants, that it was not they sitting on the gravestone, but that the stone with all its mass lay upon them. Lynceus said, "Brother, you fought with Apollo for the river nymph Marpessa, and Zeus, fearing that you would overcome the god, the son of Zeus, separated you with a lightning bolt. Fire fell like a trident from the sky between you. Brother, and Polydeuces is the son of Zeus." But the voice of Idas was menacing. "It was not Zeus who gave me strength. I am the son of earth. Another fire was my strength. Let the lightning of the son of Zeus again separate us, but I will still enter into battle with Polydeuces." He dared to steal from Idas. Lynceus, I will lay him flat on the ground, sit on his chest, and summon the titans and heroes. Let them see how Idas punishes. Satyrs, nymphs, I will summon all. Let them look, and the laughter will fall silent. Idas the giant rose to his full height, and his hand, clenched into a fist, rose threateningly towards the sky. Idas, what if the fiery trident of Zeus pierces you? Zeus will not dare. Zeus, and Lynceus the sharp-sighted, Idas's brother, laughed. He cast down the great titans into Tartarus. He nailed Prometheus to the cliff. He fettered Atlas to the sky. Zeus will not dare. And Lynceus jumped off the stone. Idas, he is the god of gods. But the answer sounded proudly. He honors me as strength. The brothers fell silent. Again both sat down on the gravestone, and the menacing sky darkened above them. For a long time Lynceus gazed into this dark sky, and, shifting his eyes to his brother, said, Zeus honors no one, just like the sky. He is Zeus. But Idas answered with the voice of a titan. Zeus needs me. He is the sky. I am the earth. Thus the Ephyridae brothers spoke to each other, as if a mighty power of thought had entered them, into Idas and Lynceus, the killers of Castor, here, on the gravestone. Lynceus said, Needed today, tomorrow you are not needed. The unneeded become a burden. You will become dust, Idas. For the Chronides, pitilessness is law. I know the word of Prometheus. One must answer lightning with lightning. But what can you do, Idas? Your ashwood stake is but a straw to Zeus. Hurl a mountain at Chronides. He will crack it like a nut. Idas could not bear this bitterness of words, and, looking straight into his brother's ray-like eyes, straightening himself entirely, swelling his muscles like mountains, cried out in a frenzy with his whole body. Where are you, Lynceus, brother of Idas? Are you timid? You, who tore a dragon in two. Are you a titan? And with sadness Lynceus answered, I do not know, Idas. It seems to me, I am mortal. Then know yourself as a mortal, and you will not be mortal. He said this, and Idas himself was surprised at his words, as if someone had whispered them to him, to mighty Idas. Was it not the titan buried under the gravestone? But with the same sadness Lynceus continued, I see the world. In you, everything is beyond and beyond. But measure is given to everything. There is measure even for the strength of Zeus. But the measure of your strength is unequal to it. You, Idas, are small. I am small. And the giant, enormous Idas, cried out, I will heave Taygetus onto my back like a bull and carry it. Zeus is not frightful to me. He is frightful. He is stronger than you and I, both of us. And Idas was surprised at his brother's words. Who is frightful? I have seen fear. He is Phobos, the companion of the war god. He stood at Ares' shoulder, right before the battle of the half-gods. And I clapped fear on the shoulder. Phobos twisted his face and said to me, Idas, they do not jest with me. You are very young, it seems. Then I clapped fear on the shoulder once more and walked away, laughing. He called his brother to his aid, Horror. And Horror gazed into my eyes, at me, Idas, but I laughed. I have seen fear. But what is this, to fear? Idas fell silent. And then a voice resounded from behind a cloud. Idas, Idas. But there was no one in the sky or on earth, only a cloud. Lynceus began to peer into that cloud, but some brilliance blinded him. And again the same voice from behind the cloud said, You are blind, Lynceus. And the cloud turned into smoke. The sky was empty as before. Then Lynceus said in alarm, Idas, Apollo heard us. He blinded my eyes with his radiance. And again Lynceus peered for a long time into the distance of the sky, over the mountains, and through the mountains, there, where Olympus, invisible to Idas, shimmers. I see, Idas. Chronides from the peak of the heavenly stronghold is looking at us. In his hand is the thunderbolt. Brother, do not fight with the immortal Polydeuces. He is the son of Zeus. And Apollo is the son of Zeus. Brother, you are brave. You are mighty. You are Idas. But even Atlas could not withstand the lightning. Lightnings too grow dim. They do not walk. They do not run. They do not gallop. The storms, but all at once, as if from all sides, they fly at you, whirl you, spin you, drag everything into their whirlpool. And before you know it, you yourself have become one of the 1,000 wings of these storms. Like such a storm, Polydeuces also flew at the Ephyridae brothers. All three of them spun in a whirlwind bout dance by the gravestone. Whether they are striking or wrestling, you cannot tell. Only Idas sees the end of his spear that had pierced Castor's chest, wants to snatch it from Polydeuces' hands, and both spin, holding on to its ends from opposite sides. Lynceus wants to help Idas, but does not know how to approach Polydeuces. He rushes at him, but the wrestlers have already changed places. Finally, he sees the middle of the spear, hung upon it. The spear bent into an arc and snapped in two. Idas and Polydeuces flew apart in different directions, each with a piece of the spear in his hands. Lynceus also fell from the jolt and struck the back of his head against the edge of the gravestone. Rays sprayed in all directions from his eyes, and Lynceus's eyes went dark. What did you not see in time, Idas? Polydeuces already leaped up to the fallen Lynceus, embraced his body across the middle, heaved him onto his shoulder, and rushed to run with him along the gravestone, to its edge which overhung high above the sea. Below, the sea abyss boils. Now it rises, like a chest in breathing. Now it recedes and reveals its stone teeth of a monster. Among those teeth, one tooth jutted out especially far above the water. The waves of the whirlpool had honed it. Like the spire of an underwater tower, it maliciously stuck out of the foam. Upon this tooth fell the body of Lynceus from on high. The point of the tooth pierced into his back, came out through his chest, and Lynceus remained forever nailed to the stone tooth of the deep. The Lord of the Waters, Poseidon, raised 9 billows, one higher than the other, and covered Lynceus's body with them. 9 billows must roll back into the sea for Lynceus's body and the stone tooth sticking out of it to be revealed again. Polydeuces repaid Idas for the spear sent into the heart of the great ancestor oak. Neither a beast nor a whirlwind tornado howls as Idas howled at the death of his brother Lynceus. Idas howled so hard that a waterfall in a distant gorge tore away from the cliff and flooded the refuge of the river nymph Marpessa. Late did you run up, Idas, to the edge of the gravestone. And here, the two wrestlers grappled with each other, Idas and Polydeuces, to fight to the death. But neither Idas nor Polydeuces knew whether they were mortal or immortal. Neither the Titans nor the gods had revealed this to them. Polydeuces was enraged at the death of Castor. Idas was enraged at the destruction of Lynceus. They furiously bend each other to the ground, and cannot bend. Idas is invincible for Polydeuces. Polydeuces is invincible for Idas. The fist fighter Polydeuces strikes Idas in the chest with a hammer fist, so that a mammoth would drop dead, but Idas does not even notice. Polydeuces also does not care about Idas's blow. Twice already the wrestlers had moved away from the gravestone and twice returned to it. And Polydeuces noticed that the closer they are to that stone, the more fiercely Idas presses him, and the farther they are from the stone, the weaker Idas's onslaught. Then Polydeuces began to lead Idas farther away from the gravestone. Idas sees that his opponent is overcoming him in the struggle. He tore himself from Polydeuces' hands and started to run back to the stone, leaped onto it, and right on the gravestone itself, the fighters entered into mortal combat with each other for the third time. Why have so many clouds gathered above them in the sky, as if Olympus had suddenly lost all its cloudy curls? What heavenly spectators are seated on those clouds? Joyful are the faces of the crown-eyed gods. They have not amused themselves with such a spectacle for a long time. For the delight of the gods, surely, Mother Earth Gaia created these wrestlers. And from the abyss, even subterranean Hades himself, the lord of dead life, emerged to his waist and stands in the distance as a glittering darkness, admiring the struggle. What titans they are! Their hands have embraced their bodies, and each hand wants to break the body. Mass presses upon mass. With a frightful breath, the air bursts from their chests, and the hammer beats in the forge of the heart with a double blow. No, neither hearts, nor bodies, nor hands will yield to each other. For ages, the gravestone had been motionless, and suddenly it tottered under the weight of the mighty wrestlers' bodies and slightly shifted from its place. Is it not the Titan, buried under it, stirring in his sleep? Polydeuces staggered. The stone shifted even more, one of its edges lifted, and the wrestlers heard something like a subterranean breath. Suddenly Idas became twice as mighty. He presses, bends Polydeuces. Then Polydeuces gathered all his strength, tore himself away from Idas, stepped off the stone onto the ground, wants to flee from the gravestone. Then an unheard of thing occurred. Idas also leaped down to the ground after him, and, filled with double strength, lifted that gravestone above the ground. He withstood it and hurled it, the heavy one, at Polydeuces. Polydeuces had no time to dodge. He wanted to knock the mass aside with his hands, but the gravestone crashed down at his feet, catching the fighter with its edge, and Polydeuces, the son of Zeus, fell to his knees. Then it thundered dully in the clouds. Do not jump, Idas. But Idas does not hear the thunderous voice. He jumped, immensely furious, upon Polydeuces, knocked him over, and pressed his shoulders to the ground. Even more menacingly did it thunder in the sky. But Idas hears and sees nothing. Before his eyes is Lynceus, pierced by the stone tooth. Idas squeezed the body of Polydeuces with his boa-like hands, heaved him onto himself, and wanted to throw him near the stone into a crevice where the earth had suddenly opened its depths. A pale-winged horse raced across the sky to the clouds. What a horse! The swan horses are not like that. No lightnings flash from under their hooves. Surely, the horse lightning vane Pegasus is flying again with lightnings to Cronides. Idas raised his head to the sky. In his hands is the body of a giant. He sees the black locks of the goat skin, the aegis of Zeus, with the frightful face of a monster in its middle, are looming over him. And above the face, stormy eyes in a blinding radiance of wrath, and fiery lashes around the eyes. You see such eyes only once. And right into the eyes of the ruler of the world himself, Zeus, the furious Idas cried out, I do not fear you, Skyholder. I lifted the stone you had riveted. And I, Idas, am immortal as you are. I will come out to fight even you. I do not fear your fiery wasps. Where is Lynceus, my sun-eyed brother? The world grew still, and fire struck from the sky into the earth. Frightful was the blow of Zeus's thunderbolt. The gravestone split in half. The body of Polydeuces slipped out of the mighty Titan's hands, and Idas fell upon the fragments of the stone. Then a thunderous voice asked in the sky, Why do you writhe, furious Idas? Where is your Titan immortality? Again the fiery trident flashed, and again the voice asked in the sky, Do you hear me, Idas? You are like honey for my fiery wasps. Atlas was more bitter. For the third time Zeus struck from the sky, and the spears of lightnings cast the body of Idas into the gaping bowels of the earth. Do not ask, traveler, in Messenia about Idas. Do not ask where the gravestone lies. This place by the sea has long been forgotten. But sometimes, the waves of the deep, where the body of the Titan Lynceus, nailed to the stone tooth, languished, would roll back into the sea, revealing it to the gaze. And then Lynceus would open his eyes and look at the sky at the new sun god. From his earthly eyes, he would fiercely hurl at Apollo the rays that penetrate through stone and bone. Apollo would smile, and in answer, the sun god would send his golden heavenly arrows into Lynceus's eyes. Lynceus the sharp-sighted would go blind. And he lies there, blinded, fixing his blind eyes on the heavenly road, until one after another, 9 waves billows return from the sea and cover him with their leaden moisture, having roamed across the sea's expanse. Tales of the Titan, Centaur Chiron. Part 1. The Tale of the Titan Centaur, Chiron the Healer, and of Asclepius, the child god. The tale of the nymph Chariclo, and the blinding of her son, Tiresias. By the cave of the centaur Chiron, on Mount Pelion, old Chariclo was dying. Once, Chariclo had been a nymph, the daughter of the ancient Titan Perseus, and, like all Titans, the Titaness Chariclo was immortal and eternally young. But when the Chronide gods cast down the ancient Uranide Titans into Tartarus and banished other, unsubmissive Titans to the edge of the earth, to the world river ocean, the daughter of Zeus, Athena, lured the young Titaness Chariclo to herself, and the nymph Chariclo became the companion of the heavenly goddess. Chariclo had a son, the youth Tiresias, and he possessed such a penetrating gaze that he could see any prey through the dense foliage, in the depths of river waters, and on the most distant mountain path. But the unexpected happened. Once, Tiresias was wandering through the forbidden places of Pelion, and he heard splashing and joyful laughter, the kind with which the happy gods laugh. Surely, nymphs are frolicking, thought Tiresias, and darted from the forest gloom through thickets of tamarisks and thorns straight to the bright lake, onto the golden sand. This lake was entirely a mirror, and whoever approached it, the veil of mortality fell from their eyes for an instant, and they could see the world as the immortals see it. And Tiresias saw, before him in the lake, waist deep in water, the goddess Athena splashes, and beside her, Tiresias's mother, the nymph Chariclo. The mortal youth Tiresias saw the goddess as only gods were permitted to see her. The goddess cried out in wrath. Her cry bent the trees over the lake, and the dryads overturned in fright, headfirst towards the water. Their hair hung over the lake. The goddess came out of the water, and she did not let Tiresias draw a breath, standing before him in all her beauty, just as she was, and looking menacingly into the youth's eyes. The enraptured Tiresias froze. He had never met such beauty and might on earth. Before him was no river nymph, no naiad of the grottos of Pelion. Surely, before him stood a celestial one, and he was ready to give everything for an instant, just to behold the goddess. He did not fall prostrate before her, did not close his mortal eyes, did not implore the wonder maiden of Olympus, "Have mercy." I did not know. It was by chance. Tiresias stands before Athena and looks with the eyes of a mortal youth straight into her immortal eyes. Oh, and menacing was the voice of the goddess. "You see me in the light of the sun, but for the last time, mortal." Chariclo had no time to cry out to her son, no time to cover him with her body, no time to implore her companion goddess, when the virgin warrioress already uttered the battle cry of the Chronides. Her hands lunged towards the bold eyes of the youth hero and tore those eyes out of their sockets. In a rage, Athena threw them onto the sand and kicked them into the lake with her foot. "Catch the apples of light, Chariclo." A mother's heart groaned. Chariclo rushed from the water onto the shore to her son, embraced his bloodied face, pressed him to her breast, and the living blood of the mortal flowed over the immortal body of the nymph. Gods, gods! What kind of gods are you, Cronides? This is my son, Tiresias. He heard his mother's voice, ran out to meet her, for joy. Why do you trample on Titan truth? Tiresias staggered, fell onto the sand, and embracing him, the nymph Chariclo covered him with her body and wept such tears as only a mother weeps. And the goddess Athena is already in her battle gear. Still more menacing became her face and gaze, and in them was the inexorability of the Cronides. I did not know that you had a mortal son, that you, a mother, dared to be the companion of the virgin Athena. Our bond is broken, Chariclo. We shall no longer frolic together, no longer bathe in the lake of joy. But you were still the companion of Athena, the goddess of Olympus. Ask of me what you will, but for the last time you ask. Then Chariclo pulled herself away from her son's body, stretched out her hands to the goddess. Fulfill a mother's request. Give Tiresias back his eyes. Let him see the world of the Cronides again. He could see through any darkness among mortals, could spy out prey through any foliage, through any depth of river waters, on any distant mountain path. And Chariclo heard the goddess's answer. I cannot give him back his eyes, and no one can give them back to him. Not a god, not a Titan, not even Cronides himself. He whom we, the gods, have blinded, is blind forever. He whom mortals have blinded may regain his sight. But in mercy to you, my former companion, I will give him another sight. Tiresias shall be a visionary. He shall read the secret signs of living life, understand the voices of birds and beasts, the whisper of grasses and the murmur of waters. He shall see the future in the present day. He shall remember all the past that is forgotten. He shall be able to know even the thoughts of the gods. And the span of his life shall be lengthened for him threefold against other mortals. And when he descends into Hades, even there, among the bodiless shades, he shall remember all the forgotten past, and, as before, see the future. But one thing let him not dare, to reveal to mortals the thoughts of the Cronide gods without the will of the Cronides, or he will instantly lose his gift of vision. His SIGHTA and SOFBLIND and ESS will vanish. He will remain simply a blind man, not seeing even his own road, and, pursued by demons, the infernal mania and the maddening Lyssa, he will wander blindly across the earth, driven by both mortals and beasts, and waters, and even stones. Birds will peck at him, and beasts will rend him, trees will lash him with their branches, grasses will entangle his shins, and thorns will cling to him, and stones will fall under his feet, and waters will drag him into the mire. And no one will show him compassion. The punishment of the gods is inexorable. And the goddess drove her spear into the ground. But you, for that gift of vision for your son, shall give me half of your Titanous immortality. Know that the vision of mortals is not granted freely. You entreated me with the voice of a mother, reproached us, the gods of Olympus. You are an Euronide, and I am of the Cronides. Speak. Do you, mother, give half of your immortality for the vision of your blind son? And through her tears, Chariclo answered, I give it. The virgin warrioress laughed, uttered the victory cry of the Cronides, struck the ground thrice with her spear, and said, Rise, Chariclo, look at yourself in the lake of joy. It shall now become the lake of sorrow. And Athena vanished into the sky. Chariclo went to the lake. She sees, it is not a nymph that is turned upside down in the lake, but 4 hooves are turned upside down. At the hooves, tall horse legs. On the legs, a horse's body. Chariclo bent down to the water and immediately saw herself again, only up to her waist. She had grown onto the horse's chest of a white mare, there where the neck usually rises on a horse. Athena had turned the nymph into a centaur, and her human body remained immortal, but her horse body was mortal. Oh, how the mother Chariclo then embraced her senseless son Tiresias, how she lifted him from the ground and carried him away to the cave on Chiron's mountain, to Pelion. Old Chariclo was remembering. She was remembering how the centaur Chiron later found her, how she went to him, to the son of Cronus, in the cave. And then she seemed to herself eternally young, as before. But years went by and years came. The mortal body of the mare began to struggle for life with the immortal body of the nymph. Breath by breath, particle by particle, the Titanous body gave its strength of life to the horse's body. And then their strengths of living life became equal, and the strength of her immortality began to wane. For a long time, the wondrous healer Chiron fought with death in Chariclo, for the living life in her body against the dead life. And still the nymph, the beautiful Titanous, began to age and to wither. The hour has come. By the threshold of Chiron's cave, old Chariclo was dying. And Helios' son, the ancient friend, is still the same. Many healing herbs and roots Chiron brought her from the forests, and more than once the miraculous healer brought the dying one back to life. Chariclo prepared healing potions and poured into the potion that drop of ambrosia which, every morning, a dove carried in its crop to the immortal centaur from the Garden of the Hesperides. Violating the prohibitions of the Cronide gods, Chiron gave that drop to the mortal Chariclo, while he himself fed on the nectar of flowers, the gift of the meadow nymphs of Pelion. The ambrosial fragrance filled the cave, but neither the herbs nor the ambrosial potions helped. For a long time, Chariclo wandered through the forbidden places in the mountains, hobbling on her swollen horse legs, in search of the miraculous Promethean root with the scarlet flower. It was said that this flower grew from the drops of blood of the Titan Prometheus, which oozed from his torn wound and fell from on high to the foot of the cliff of the Caucasus. Chariclo dug the earth with her split hoof, sniffed it, drawing in the air for a long time. But Chariclo did not find the miraculous root. Then the Old One returned to the cave on Pelion, lowered her horse body onto a heap of dry leaves and moss at its entrance, leaned her human body against the granite doorjamb, and let her eyes wander into the distant forests and mountains. There in the distance is Mount Ossa by the sea, and beyond it, perhaps clouds and ridges, perhaps the snowy hills of Olympus. And itching and trembling in her old horse body, Chariclo slowly lifted a hind leg to scratch the itching spot on her swollen belly with her hoof, but changed her mind and, bending with difficulty at the waist, scratched herself with her human hand. The tale of the young giants, the Alodes. Chariclo looks at Ossa and Olympus. The distant past rises before her. She remembers how once the young brothers, the giant Alodes, Otis and Ephialtes, wanted to ascend to the sky and cast the Cronides down from the sky to the earth. Like two sons, the Alodes were beautiful. No wonder their father was the solar titan Aloeus, and their mother the beautiful Iphimedeia. Titans were the Alodes, and what titans? When, in the evenings, the brothers would stand shoulder to shoulder on the peak of Pelion, it seemed that two enormous stars had rolled down from the sky to earth to amaze it with their beauty. Thus once stood the handsome Alodes on the peak of Pelion. And suddenly Artemis the huntress rushed past them in pursuit of a doe. The giant brothers saw her and could no longer forget. They began to chase after her. They could not catch her, the swift one, on earth. And the goddess kept rushing past, as if teasing and luring and playing with the giant boys. And at first, the solar boys Alodes did not know that, hiding behind a giant cedar, the young sun god Apollo looked down at this game, with a golden bow in his hand. It was not for nothing that the sister of the sun god, Artemis, was teasing the solar brothers. Not for nothing she was hunting a doe near the Titans. Apollo, the sun god, does not tolerate rivals, the Heliades. He spoke on Olympus to the gods. Oh, how arrogant are the Alodes from their might. Their beauty shines too insolently. They want to eclipse the beauty of the Cronides with their beauty. They are god fighters, and their giant amusements are no simple amusements. They want to avenge their father Aloeus' destruction upon us. Soon my bowstring will ring. Soon my golden arrow will sing. Otis said to Ephialtes. A heavenly scout is hiding behind the tree. His quiver is full of arrows. He must be plotting something evil. Ephialtes answered Otis. Well then, are our arrows not arrows? Are our hands not hands? It is not in the custom of Titans to lurk behind trunks and clouds. Let us ascend openly to the sky. Let the Cronides remember the Alode brothers. Let them yield Artemis to us. High above Olympus is the sky. Let us pile mountain upon mountain. Let us heap Ossa upon Olympus. And upon Ossa, let us set Pelion. And we shall step over them to the sky of the Cronides. Either we, the Titans, shall be gods, or we shall cast the gods from the sky to the earth. Did not Zeus's lightnings cast the solar Aloeus into Tartarus? The Titan Helios on the high sky will be glad of us. We share one Titan truth with him. And Otis said to Ephialtes, well then, let us take hold of Ossa, Ephialtes. Let us amuse ourselves with mountains today. But the goddess Artemis the huntress kept flickering before the brothers, kept teasing the giant boys, snatching the golden horned doe from under their very noses. Just you wait, the Alodes thought. We will steal you from the sky along with your lunar comb. The Alode brothers stood on either side of Ossa, embraced it with their giant hands, braced their heels against the soles of neighboring mountains, strained all their Titan strength, and tore Ossa from the soil. Gaia earth groaned. The beasts, and birds, and grasses, and small creatures heard that groan. Only the giant boys did not hear it. They raised the mountain and held it. And from afar it seemed as if two small mountains were propping up one large mountain from two sides. The Alodes raised Ossa even higher and began to tip it onto Olympus, intending later to heap Pelion onto Ossa as well and climb over them to the sky. It began to rumble on the peak of Olympus. The giant boys do not hear the menacing rumble. Ossa rocks in their hands. Scorched beasts run out of the forests, lions, bears, boars, lynxes, deer. Wild herds of centaurs rush past. They darted about with roars and wails across the clearings and meadows. Gaia Earth groaned from her wounds. And then the giant oaks and beeches, whose voices had long since gone into age-old thoughts, began to speak. And the dryads, half dead with fear, came out of the heart of the trunks along with blind owls, and, clutching the branches, also groaned, like the earth. Ever more menacingly and frightfully Olympus rumbles. Kuriklo watches. There, in the direction of sunset, above Olympus, stands a black cloud of an unprecedented mass, with crimson flame along its edges, all shred with the tridents of blue lightnings. And in the flashing of lightnings, within the black cloud, the menacing faces of enormous gods became visible, how they gaze upon the unheard of impudence of two giant boys. Kuriklo looks, and above her, on the cliff, plant his hooves on the very edge, stands, entirely leaning forward, the son of Cronus, Chiron, and the mighty hands of the centaur are stretched forth not towards the gods, but towards the giant children. And suddenly Chiron cried out loudly, "My Titans, oh my Titans! Do you hear, Father Cronus? Do you see from the darkness of Tartarus, Titans are lifting mountains? Ever more frightful in the direction of sunset is the black cloud. Ever more menacing the flashes of blue lightnings. Jagged spears fly from Olympus. But under the cover of the raised Ossa, the Alode boys are invulnerable to the fiery spears of Olympus." Kuriklo turned towards the direction of sunrise. How wondrously the sky is lit there. What clarity! As if in the palm of your hand, the entire heavenly road, and on it, in the glitter of hooves, the solar steeds rise up on reins held high. How the eyes of the Titan Helios shone then, with what midday triumph! He saw everything, heard everything, knew everything, and looked at Chiron. The horse body of Chiron was of a lion's color, and it shone, shimmering with gold, and blended with the swarthy golden skin of his human torso and the golden beard of the centaur. And when at that hour Chiron stood with his turquoise eyes under the rays of Helios's eyes, he entirely shone, as the gods shine. Why did the horses of the sun suddenly squat down on their hind legs all at once and rear up? Why did their outspread wings and hooves freeze in the air? Why are the outstretched arms of the Titan Helios and the taut reins motionless? Apollo, the young son of Zeus, stood before the horses of the sun, blocking their way, and a golden bow was in his hand. The young god braced his back against the golden shaft of the chariot, and already the bowstring, like the garments of Iris Rainbow, is drawn across the heavenly road, and on the bowstring, a golden arrow. It rang finely in the air, began to sing. And Kuriklo saw how something pierced the air, as if a solitary ray had torn away from the radiance of the sun god. This ray struck against Ossa, bounced off it, and pierced into Ephialtes as a golden arrow. And now a second arrow flies at the second giant, at Otis. The raised Ossa began to sway, in the hands of the giant boys. It tilted, listed, and sagged onto one side, and then swung back, and then it lowered its base, onto the deep wound in the soil, and covered with itself the two bodies of the Alode brother giants. It grew quiet in the world and on Pelion. Beyond the sea, the black cloud departed from Olympus. Young Apollo vanished from the solar road, and in a dim radiance, shrouding his head in a cloud and lowering his radiant reins, the Titan Helios stood on the solar chariot, and the chariot rolled along the misty sky towards the ocean. Chiron too withdrew into the cave. There he tucked his horse legs beneath him, and, with a lyre in his hands, began to compose a song about the young brave Titans, about the Alode boys. And Kuriklo listened then to his song. But hunters told a different tale to one another on the free pastures of Pelion, where wild goats graze. It was said that Artemis took the form of a golden-horned doe, and when the handsome hunters Alode stood on the peak of Pelion, each with a bow in his hand, and spoke, laughing, to each other, "There is no doe so swift on Pelion that our arrows could not catch, even if that doe were Artemis herself." Suddenly, out of nowhere, a golden-horned doe rushed between the brothers. Each brother loosed an arrow at her, but the doe rushed between them with such speed that the arrow of the giant Otis hit Ephialtes in the heart, and Ephialtes' arrow hit Otis in the heart. The giant brothers fell to the ground. They had time to cry out only one word at once. "Artemis!" And, laughing, the Cronide gods set on Olympus. "The giant Alodes destroyed each other. How can they contend with us, the Cronides?" And old Kuriklo knew about this too. The tale of the death of Kuriklo, Chiron's wife, and of his young pupils, Actaeon and Jason. At the hour when the goddess Pandya was pouring such a luxuriance of midday gold from her blue pails onto the fields that in its reflection even the grimness of Pelion was lost, Chiron stood before the entrance to the cave and, bowing his head, gazed at Kuriklo. He had seen many times how one dies on earth and understood what it means to die. And although he could hear the steps of death and see death with his own immortal eyes, yet he did not speak with her. Immortals do not converse with death. Old Kuriklo was dying. Oh, how merrily voices rang out below the mountain. Indeed, merry, ringing-voiced, Actaeon and Jason, youths, Chiron's pupils, were returning from the hunt. Laughing loudly, they climbed the steep path to the clearing in single file. On their shoulders were trunks of ash trees. Not trunks, but giants of Pelion for the bonfires of half-god heroes. And the trunks were hung with prey from crown to butt. The youths found it easy to carry the prey. On the trunks swung beast carcasses, bears, boars, bundles of roe deer, and beside them, bunches of edible and healing roots and tubers. What a day this was! From afar, they joyfully cried out, "Teacher Chiron, look, today we caught our game without weapons, with our hands and wits, as you taught us. The game is good, for glory. That means we were doing good. Look, father." And the youths laughed. But, coming out onto the clearing, breathing heavily, with hot eyes, they glanced at Chiron and fell silent. He did not say to them, as he used to, "Infants, oh ho ho. Now there is no small amount of meaty milk in the ladles. Take a sip." And was the FORESTLAW observed? And the youths would answer, "It was observed. There is no surplus. According to the measure of need, no more." And was the law of beast right observed? It was observed. Courage without ferocity. Well, tell it briefly and directly. And the youths would begin to speak and would say about each other. Father, Jason crushed a she-bear under him and released her, seeing 2 little bear cubs. He honored the mother. And Actaeon snatched a kid from the claws of a leopard and threatened the clawed brute. Watch out next time. The leopard was full and was tearing the kid without need, from rage and malice. But today the mentor did not ask them, as he used to. He did not even glance back at the hunters. Cautiously, the youths threw the trunks with their prey onto the grass and stood beside one another. They gazed wide-eyed at Chiron. Today he is different. The half-god heroes had never yet seen the wise centaur like this. Motionless, for a long, long time the astonished youths stood, observing their teacher. And then Actaeon cautiously, nudging Jason slightly, whispered to him, "Do you see?" "I see." "What is that?" In the dark gold of Chiron's beard, something was silvering and whitening. It seemed as if time, which had never yet approached the immortal centaur, suddenly stretched its webby fingers towards him, and, sorting through the hair in his gold-playing beard, one by one, with the finest brush, finer than air, was soundlessly silvering now one little hair, now another. And suddenly, unable to endure it, Actaeon stepped towards Chiron and asked, "Father, who is tracing silver through the gold of your hair, as an old man? Surely you are not subject to Chronos time." "I have known loss," answered Chiron. "Well then, losses do not darken the joy of the gods. You have had them before. In autumn, many leaves fall from the trees. Does anyone pity the leaves? It is autumn. Is that not how you taught us?" And Chiron answered, "You, boy, are right. So I spoke to you, and to myself. I have seen losses, both my own and those of others, but then I had not yet known them. One knows loss when one loves. Then for the first time you hear the voice of Ananke, inevitability. I have just heard her voice. And I am learning now a new courage, firmer than that of the past." Actaeon and Jason, the half-gods, exchanged clear-eyed glances and slightly shrugged their shoulders. At such shoulders, even lions would crawl back into the bushes. They were young and, although mortal, had not yet known loss and love. And here both at once turned to each other, and before their eyes rose Melanippe, with a horse body gleaming like agate and a maidenly torso of golden white, like asphodel flowers, their beautiful companion, Chiron's granddaughter. And the youths drew half the world into their lungs. Melanippe. And by the entrance to the cave, Chariclo quietly breathed her last breath. "She is dead." "Actaeon, I thought I heard the teacher's voice." Someone said, "She is dead." "Did you hear?" In Jason's eyes stood a question. "I heard. Yes, old Chariclo was mortal, after all." But the same question stood in Actaeon's eyes as well. "Come, let us plunge into the waves." And the youths, the half-god heroes, went to the stream where the nymph Oceroe lived, the daughter of Chiron, the mother of the centaur girl, the beautiful Melanippe. The tale of the child god Asclepius and of the Oceanid Philyra. What mountain stream, now murmuring, now boiling turbulently, runs beyond the cliff far towards the sunset, to the foot of Pelion. In that stream lives the river nymph Oceroe. Once, the god Apollo came to the stream where Oceroe lived. He brought an infant in the nest of a phoenix bird. He placed the nest with the infant on the bank, and the god Apollo disappeared. Only Dawn Eos smiled at the infant and said, "Greetings, Asclepius." At dawn, Oceroe found the nest. She carried the nest with the newborn to Chiron in the cave. But Chiron already knew everything about the infant and said to his daughter Oceroe, "Foster him." And Oceroe became the foster mother of Asclepius. The youth heroes asked Chiron, "Father, who is this little one? Is he a titan? Or, like us, a hero?" And Chiron answered them, He is a god. Near the stream, in a grotto, the nymph Osiroi fostered Asclepius. Sometimes the child god would say to the nymph, Osiroi, tell me some truth. You know so many real truths. And Osiroi would ask Asclepius, and which truth do you want to hear? Tell me a real truth, but the very, very best one. Very well, Osiroi answers. I will tell you the truthwonders, a real truth. This truthwonders lives beyond the ocean. And the Oceanids and the winds sing of it. And the sister sirens sing of it. And we, river nymphs, hear from here that distant, distant voice of the sirens from beyond the ocean. And Osiroi begins to flow with words, such words as had never yet flowed on Mount Pelion. All around sit the youth, half-god heroes, and listen to that truth of wonders, the real truth. And Melanippe, Chiron's granddaughter, listens to it, and sometimes even the wise centaur Chiron himself. Amidst the ocean, on the world river, stands a bare stone island. On the stone island there is a cliff, and on the cliff sit birds, not birds, maidens, not maidens, serpents, not serpents. It is as if a bird had fused with a maiden in them, and a maiden with a serpent. What wondrous maidens! What wondrous birds! And in their tails are little serpents. And when they suddenly begin to sing, as soon as you hear their songs, you stand still, and not a step further. Only everything within you sings. And you do not even breathe. You think, this is it, the singing of the muses on Mount Helicon. But where is Helicon? For here stands a stone island amidst the ocean. On the stone island there is a cliff. And on the cliff sit birds, not birds, maidens, not maidens, serpents, not serpents, and they sing. What sweet slumber! Beware, beware of this slumber, seafarer. Beware of the sirens. Sleep then, Asclepius, sleep. The sirens are our sisters. And Asclepius, the child god, will say, I am asleep. Tell me one more truthwonders, Osiroi. And Osiroi begins to flow with words. The forefather of streams and rivers, the ancient Titan Oceanus, had 50 Oceanid daughters, and among them, the Oceanid Philyra, with hair like forest leaves. Philyra did not want to live only in the one ocean, between the worlds of living life and dead life. Philyra wanted to swim out into the sea of Cronus, into living life. She wanted to see not what lies beyond the ocean, but what lies before the ocean, where the titans and giants live. She swam out from the black waters into green waters, and then she saw blue waters, and after them, light blue waters. And no sooner had she admired the light blue ones, than she saw purple waters as well. Thus Philyra swam further and further, now playing with her Nereid sisters, now with dolphins, now with seahorses. Various wonders, sea titans and gods, chased after her. The Oceanid would flee from them. She swam as far as the mountains of Magnesia, near the harsh shores of Pelion, where in the distance on the slopes graze unprecedented nymph mares. All, as one, deep green. Sleep then, Asclepius, sleep. The Oceanid Philyra saw them. She wanted to play with the mares. Philyra came out onto the high bank, all clothed in sea foam. When the mares saw her, clothed in sea foam, they rushed off to the forests of Pelion, and after them, the Oceanid over the grasses. The tall grasses billow like the green waves of the sea, and the Oceanid swims over them. The tender grasses embraced her and carry her to the forest leaves of Pelion. Ahead galloped the mares, all, as one, deep green, and already the leaves rustle as a second green sea. Philyra plunged into the sea of leaves, swims over the leaves, while the branches splash. Ever closer she swims to the mares, and they now gallop, now play. Sleep then, Asclepius, sleep. Philyra swam up to one mare, touched her, and, as it happens, she turned into a mare herself, turned and began to gallop. She looks, beside her gallops a golden horse. What a wonder horse, all golden, thought Philyra. And where is he from? Is he not straight from the sun, from the team of the Titan Helios? But the horse is no longer golden, but all silver. What a wonder horse, all silver, thought Philyra. Is he not from the moon? Is he not the horse of Luna Selene? And now the wonder horse is not silver, but all deep blue, as if fed on cornflowers in a field. Only his eye is emerald, gazing unwaveringly at the Oceanid. And Philyra rests her eyes on him. She had not seen such horses either in the ocean or in the sea. Sleep then, Asclepius, sleep. All around, giant lindens rustle, and the leaves go in waves, and what waves? Suddenly a green sea covered them. Only the unprecedented horse said to her, Philyra, Cronus is with you, the leader of the Erinide Titans. Philyra sank with the horse into the sea of leaves, but she did not emerge from it as a mare. She emerged as a nymph, a forest linden giantess. The nymph linden Philyra bore Cronus on Pelion, the centaur Chiron. And then, as the waves recounted, the Oceanid swam back to Father Oceanus. But what won't the waves recount? And the centaur Chiron, the son of Cronus, remained on Mount Pelion. Sleep then, Asclepius, sleep? And the child god Asclepius falls asleep to the very best, real truth of his foster mother Osiroi. And sometimes the wise Chiron himself and the youth half-god heroes would listen to this real truth. The tale of the hunt for the iron boar. And on this day, too, everything was as always on Pelion, for the Lapiths, centaurs, and nymphs. But for Chiron, a different day had fallen. On this day, the youth half-god heroes Jason, Actaeon, and others returned from the hunt earlier than usual. They were sullen and came without prey. Chiron asked them, "Why are you like this? Where are the bears? Where are the boars? Where are the lions? I do not even see roots in your hands. Are you all safe and whole?" And in alarm, Chiron asked, "Where is the child?" "I am here, father," answered Asclepius. "I did not go hunting with them. I was playing at throwing the spear with Helios. I threw it right up to the sun, and Helios threw it back to me from the sky along with a ray, at high noon, when it is so close to the sun. But the spear became red hot, and I gave it to Osiroi in the waves to cool it down." "So," said Chiron, "Helios is a good spearman." And he asked Actaeon, "And where is your spear, Actaeon?" "It is in the boar, father. You did not teach us shame, yet we are ashamed. We cannot overcome the iron boar, even all together." And the unaccustomed to failure Actaeon looked into Chiron's eyes with such bewilderment. And after Actaeon, Jason said, "Father, we met a boar with iron bristles. Surely it is not a boar, but a dragon, only without wings. It is all as if in a carapace. The points of our spears bent against its iron hide. Our arrows glided powerlessly over it. Our boar spears broke against its bristles, and stones do not wound it. They merely rang against the carapace of its flanks and bounced off with a boom, as from a bronze wall. Its hooves are iron, not hooves, but two axes. It goes through the forest, shakes its head, and trees fall to the right and left, a clearing behind it. We could not take it with our hands." Jason the half-god lowered his gaze. And then Chiron asked, "Were you afraid?" And all the youths raised their heads, awaiting the answer. Jason answered, "I did not know how to overcome it." "Did you seize it by its hind leg, lift it into the air, strike its head against an oak trunk, throw it off a cliff?" Looking at the ground, Jason answered, "It itself is larger than a cliff and an oak." Chiron was silent for a moment. The half-god heroes held their breath. And then the teacher's voice resounded. "And what did you do, Jason, the future leader of the Argonauts?" "I retreated." And here merry hooves began to clatter. Melanope was standing in the clearing, and she heard Chiron's question. "Did you retreat, but with courage, as you should? Why are you silent, Jason?" "Teacher, even centaurs fled from it." And sternly, already in wrath, Chiron repeated the question. "Answer by the law of Titan truth. Did you retreat with courage or with solicitude?" And Jason answered, "With solicitude." "Oh, mortal race." Chiron turned away from Jason and looked Actaeon in the eyes. "And you, Actaeon, what did you do?" "I wanted to ride the boar, but it is all covered in iron spikes." "And you?" "I retreated too, like Jason. Twice the iron boar threw itself at me, and twice I leaped over the mountain of bristles. But I could not pierce it with my spear. It stuck fast in the iron of its hump. I did not know what to do, father. I retreated, as one should. I did not flee, but I did not take the beast. And I am ashamed." Melanope smiled at Actaeon and stood behind Chiron's shoulders. "And I am ashamed," said Chiron. "Courage without a feat is amusement. That is the business of gods. Cowardice without a feat is solicitude. That is a mortal's business. You have not yet undertaken the business of a hero. The business of a hero is a feat. I know no other business for a hero." And Jason said to Chiron, "Teach us, father, how to take the iron boar." Chiron answered, "Go and take it. Do the gods of Olympus ask? If they want to overcome, they overcome. One must know how to want, as the gods want." Today is not a merry day. Superscript 1 for Chiron. Today he has lost heroes. Or, maybe should I help you? Superscript 1 from the point of view of the Hellenes. Life should be joyful. It is full of play. The feats of heroes are their business, but at the same time, they are aspectacle, a lofty amusement. They are also a theatrical spectacle for the gods, the inhabitants of Olympus. Chiron turned away from the youths and went into the cave, gloomy. Only he threw to his pupils in farewell. Yes, today Chiron too has known shame. Melanope shifted her front legs, clasped her hands in a maidenly fashion, turned, and galloped away. On this day, none of the young pupils raised their heads, none looked at the other. Each one thought of the iron boar, the tale of the hunt for the iron boar, and the feat of the child god Asclepius. High on a cliff, just above the sea, grew a linden giantess. On all of Pelion, there was no other such mighty linden. And opposite the linden, at the edge of the cliff, overhanging the abyss, lay an enormous boulder, not a boulder on the cliff, but a mountain on a mountain. The trunk of the linden was not 5, not 10 arm spans around. Surely, for the embraces of giants, Gaia Earth had created this trunk. Neither beasts nor hunters ascended this cliff, and birds did not nest on it. Like the noise of the ocean, the noise of its leaves frightened them off. Only the wind flew as a guest to the linden giantess, and from below, at times, the thundering voice of the sea's surf rose to her. The sea and the linden conversed with each other, but about what? Only the leaves knew. On all Pelion, Chiron alone sometimes visited this cliff. He would come up to the linden giantess, embrace her with his human arms, and lean his wise, large head of the forest titan against her. And meeting him, the linden would embrace the centaur with her shaggy arms branches under the canopy of leaves, and they would stand thus together, embracing for a long time and whispering about something. The linden giantess and Chiron the centaur. When Asclepius heard about the iron boar, before which the half-god heroes Jason and Actaeon had retreated, the brave child god decided to go out secretly against the iron boar and overcome it. He decided and went, alone. The child ran at a hunting pace, in single file, in search of the boar, armed only with a Pelion spear. Chiron had whittled that spear for Asclepius from a Pelion ash. He boiled the ash in the hot seething spring of Thermopylae, but instead of a forged point, he set into the ash shaft the golden arrow of Apollo, which had fallen from the body of the giant Otis. Therefore, by night and by day, the tip of his spear gleamed like a golden ray, and the spear could pierce not only wood, but even stone. That spear possessed one property. In a brave hand, it struck without fail, and from a coward's hand, it flew past the mark. With that spear, the child god went hunting in the forests of Pelion. Many wild pigs and boars rushed past the hunter that day. Leopards and lions also came his way, but the iron boar did not appear. Suddenly, Asclepius heard a crackling, and a spray of sparks shot into the air high above the forest trees. Asclepius threw back his head and saw, above the forest stands a cliff. On the cliff is the linden giantess, and the crackling and sparks come from the cliff. The child tightened his grip on the spear, ran towards that spray of sparks. He runs. There is no road to the cliff, no path. Everywhere the forest breaks off above the abyss, and beyond the abyss, sheer walls of the cliff. But the child god feels in his heart that the iron boar is surely there, on the cliff. He wandered along the edge of the forest precipice and reached the sea. The sea roars, seethes, raises high waves, strikes them against the cliff, and one wave is highest of all, and on the crest of the wave a green dryad sways. Never had Asclepius seen dryads swaying like nereids on the waves. The dryads are a forest race, tree race. And Asclepius sees that from the cliff, from the linden giantess, a branch hangs down towards the wave with the dryad, and the tips of the branch, like fingers, now dip into the water, now emerge. The dryad played on the wave, caught hold of the finger branches, and now she flickered high in the air. The branch lifted her, carried her to the trunk of the linden giantess, and then the branch lowered itself to the wave again. Asclepius laughed joyfully, rushed to the seashore, from rock to rock, from stone to stone, and there from wave to wave, and reached the highest wave, on which the dryad had previously swayed. And now he is on the crest of the wave, and above him is the arm branch of the linden giantess. He to the branch to him, and now Asclepius is a guest under the canopy of leaves of the linden giantess. The child god peeped out from the canopy of leaves and sees. Opposite the linden lies an enormous boulder, and against the boulder, the iron boar is rubbing its iron back, and from the friction, sparks fly from the boulder, as from under a hammer on an anvil. And the boar's tusks are iron, and its hooves are double iron, and its tail is dragon-like, all jagged, like two saws along the sides of the tail, and at the end of the tail is a serpent's head with a sting. Asclepius watches the monster beast, and in the mountains and forests of Pelion, far and near, the barking of the hounds of the hunter Actaeon can be heard, the summoning sounds of horns, and Chiron's hooves thunder. It is not a hunt for a beast. Surely they are searching for him, the fugitive, the child god. He will not yield such prey to them. Asclepius jumped down from the tree, ran out from under the canopy of leaves, and stood sideways against the boar, as one should, as Chiron had taught him. And after him, the linden giantess whispers, "If anything happens, come to me. Grab any branch." The serpent in the boar's tail began to hiss. The beast lowered its head, set its tusks, and braced its front legs into the earth to rush at the hunter. In the child god's hand, the golden point of the spear gleams. He raised it, searching for a place to send it. The unprecedented beast is entirely in iron armor. Tail, a saw, incisors, sabers, hooves, knives. It will gore, and saw, and cut. Even the immortal body of a child god is vulnerable. And the boar rushed at Asclepius. The hunter had not yet marked where to hurl the spear, and before him are already tusks and teeth and spines of bristles, and a carcass like a mountain. And all around, the boulder, the abyss, and the sea. The child god has nowhere to leap. But behold, the paw of the linden giantess bent its branch down to him. Asclepius jumped up, grabbed it, and hung by one hand. Beneath him, the iron boar rushed past. The linden giantess groaned from the blow of the boar's incisor. In all the centuries of her life, she had never known such a wound. And Asclepius heard the voice of that green dryad who had swayed on the high wave. Why do you strike me, ancient one boar? Before you is the Oceanid Philyra. Asclepius's heart began to hammer with wrath. He will not let the ancient one be wronged. He leaped to the ground and sent the golden point of his spear into the monster's eye. The beast shook its frightful head. The spear struck its iron eyelid, and instantly the eyelid became red hot, turned red, and closed the eye. And the spear bounced back to Asclepius. The brave child god picked it up and sent it into the boar's second eye. The second eyelid also became red hot. The iron boar was blinded, and the spear is already back in Asclepius's hands. The boar started rushing about on the cliff. It crashes now against the boulder, now against the trunk of the linden giantess. For the third time, the hunter aimed at the beast. The spear hit the bristles. The bristles heated up, glowed crimson, like an armor with spikes in a forge. And, suffocating, entirely burned by its own hide, the iron boar fell over onto its side. And the barking of the hounds and the sound of horns are very close. And then a pack of dogs ran out onto the edge of the forest, to the precipice above the abyss, and after them the hunters, and Chiron at the head. Everything on the cliff is visible to them. The iron boar, dying on its side, and the child god, the victor. The centaur Chiron reared up and leaped across the abyss onto the cliff. He had only cast a glance at the boar, when he immediately cried out something in a voice unfamiliar to the youth heroes. Chiron uttered the ancient cry of the Titans. And the boar, raising its head, answered the son of Cronus, Chiron, with the same Titan cry. And the heart of Asclepius, the son of Atidanus, recognized the cry of Titan truth and also answered cry with cry. The child god Asclepius understood that he had overcome not a beast, but a Titan shapeshifter in the form of the iron boar, that he, a Titan, had struck a Titan. The iron boar wheezed to Chiron. Chiron, I am a descendant of the ancient Titans, born by the ocean in a cave, in the gloom, of the snake maiden Echidna, rejected by the gods. I was born already in the form of a serpent beast for the battle with the Cronide gods. Only one who is stronger than death could strike me. It seems the child who felled me is stronger than death. I hear the voice of his heart. He has the heart of a Titan. Who are you, child? And the child god said, I am Asclepius. And he wanted to pull his spear from the boar's body. But the boar wheezed. Your spear burns. I am burning up. But do not rush to pull it from my body. When you pull it out, I will die at once. Now we, the descendants of the Titans, die if we do not taste the golden apples from the garden of the Hesperides. Sorrowfully, Chiron stood over the descendant of the ancient Titans. The youth heroes on the other side of the abyss marveled at the courage of Asclepius. The boar said to Asclepius, so that in future you may recognize us, serpent Titans, taste of my blood, and you will grasp the serpent language and form, and will discern a Titan within a serpent beast. I am burning up. Pull out the spear. And Asclepius tasted the Titan's blood. From that time, Asclepius became the lord of serpents. The boar dragon gave up its spirit. And suddenly the boulder, which for ages had not fallen from the cliff, broke loose and dragged the body of the iron boar into the depths of the gaping earth, Mother Gaia. The tale of the magic writings of rain, and the return of sight by Chiron. To the blinded half-god hero Phoenix. The crimson horse, the morning star Phosphoros, had not yet departed from the night mangers when the youth heroes and Asclepius threw the skins of boars over their shoulders, pulled their tusked heads down to their crowns, took shepherd's staffs into their hands, and set off with Chiron into the mountains, to the very peak of Pelion, to read, at the rising of Sirius, the magic writings of rain. The nightingale never sleeps. And as the young heroes climbed in half-gloom through the forest to the peak of Pelion, a nightingale sang, and one, and another, and a third, sang of the magic writings of rain, in which it is written how the fierce violator cut out the tongue of the maiden Philomela, and how the gods turned her into a nightingale, to reward her with the gift of nightingale songs for her vanished human tongue. From that time, the nightingale's song healed with an intoxicating potion of sounds those who are sick with loss. Chiron said to his pupils, heal wounds with song. Of such healing through song, the writings of rain speak to us. Thus they ascended the peak of Pelion. The shepherds of sheep said, it is said that at this time, after the rising of Sirius, Zeus the cloud gatherer sends rain. And in the drops of the magic rain on Pelion, the thoughts of Zeus are hidden. Whoever reads them will be wise and happy. But Chiron, the son of Cronus, said something else to his pupils. Learn to read the writings of rain, as the birds, beasts, and grasses read them. In the tongue of birds, beasts, and grasses, the rain writings run from the sky to the earth. Whoever reads them will learn the secrets of healing. He will know the magic incantations. He will uncover the secret of every blade and every root, and leaf and berry, and all the juices and fruits on the trees, and he will become a healer of mortal tribes. Only the signs of rays are not hidden in the rain. The tongue of the sun and stars is different. It is for the immortals. Whoever reads the signs of rays will uncover the secret of eternal life. And the child god said to Chiron, I want to read the signs of rays too. The half-god Phoenix's eyes were burned out. Then the half-god hero Peleus took his friend by the hand and said, We will go to Pelion, to teacher Chiron. He is a healer. And they went. Cautiously stepped Phoenix, like a sighted man who has suddenly found himself at night in an unfamiliar dwelling, in which it is dark. And Peleus and Phoenix came to Chiron. Here I am, father, said Peleus. I come to you on Pelion from Calydon. I heard about your iron boar, but the Caledonian boar was no worse. I am glad that you returned sighted. But with you, I see, is the blind Phoenix. And Chiron peered into the burned-out eyes of the blind man. He asked, Phoenix, Phoenix, where are your eyes? And Phoenix answered, I am blind. And Chiron asked Phoenix, Phoenix, were you not blind before? I was sighted, healer. But Chiron shook his head. To many it seems that they are sighted, but they possess only the blind and essofsighed and ess. Despite all their sightedness, they are blind. Would it not be better for you to remain blind and to know, like the blind visionary Tiresias, the sighte and essofblind? Many blind are more sighted than the non-blind. Phoenix answered, I want to have my own eyes, Chiron, not the eyes of the gods, the givers of vision. For my part, better my own blind and essofsighed and ess than someone else's sighted and essofblind and ess. For my short span of life, my human eyes were enough for me. Very well, said Chiron, and turned him to face the sun. Stand and look, Phoenix, straight into the sun. Look straight into the sun and love the sun. If you love the sun, Helios will send you his sun eye from the sky. But you must know how to love the sun, to love deeply. Phoenix stands. Phoenix looks into the sun, as Chiron told him to. The rays are just tickling his eye sockets, and that is all. A little cloud ran up. The dark blue little cloud covered the solar brilliance and light. And the little cloud went away. And Phoenix keeps looking and looking straight into the sun. Phoenix looked for a long time. Well then, Chiron asked him, Are you still blind, Phoenix? I am blind, teacher. That means you love the sun too little. Love it more, and Helios will send you his sun eye from the sky. Again Phoenix stood. Again he looked with his burned-out eye sockets straight into the sun, and still he remained blind. Then Chiron led him to the edge of the clearing, where the precipice is, and said, You do not know how, Phoenix, to love the sun of life. You will not receive from Helios, like the fortunate ones, sun eyes from the sky as a gift. Well then, where a gift from the sky does not fall, one must achieve happiness through labor. No gift. Then only labor. Wait until morning. Early in the morning, when the dove, as always, brought Chiron in the cave a drop of ambrosia in her crop, the wondrous healer carefully received this gift of the Hesperides onto a petal and, like a pearl, rolled that drop of immortality from the petal into the cup of a flower filled with night nectar and mixed them. Then from a heap of precious stones, and there were many such heaps on the moss in the cave, he chose opals, pale blue turquoise, and blue sapphires. He weighed them in his palm, ground them in a stone mortar with a pestle into powder, sprinkled the powder with a scattering of golden sand, and began to knead this mixture in rosy oil, ethereal, thick and light. From morning violets, midday roses, evening narcissi, and night stocks, the nymphs of meadows and forests extracted this oil. The mixture drew together into a dough. Chiron molded 2 eyes out of the dough, placed a tiny crystal shard in each eye, and made a little pit in each. The eye was exactly like an eye, but still blind. And then into those pits Chiron poured from the flower cup the mixture of ambrosia with flower nectar, and covered those pits from above with a drop of wine from the first vines of Dionysus. At a distance stood the half-gods, the young heroes, and the beautiful Melanippe, and watched. But next to the healer Chiron, having spread his lashes so wide and not tearing his eyes from the centaur's hands, stood Asclepius, the child god. A blue little serpent twined around the child's wrist, and his fingers played with it. And by the precipice, at the edge of the clearing, sat the blind man and listened to life. How many voices there were in it, unknown to him before. Chiron said, "Rise, blind man. Go meet your eyes." Phoenix rose and walked towards the voice. He walked, and a green golden fly circled, buzzing, before his face, peering so curiously, persistently, and greedily with all its fly eyes into the eye sockets of the blind man, into their fresh sores among the scabs of the eyelids. The fly was getting angry, bustling about. So much trouble in the life of a green golden fly. It wanted both to know and to snatch. A fly needs things. Chiron placed the eyes into Phoenix's eye sockets and turned him again to face the sun. "Look, Phoenix." And when a merry sunbeam playfully threw itself towards the blind man's eyes, Chiron bit off the tip of the beam with a crystal shard, split that tip in two, and let into both eyes of the blind man a tiny splinter beam each. The golden grains of sand sparks began to play in the eye. The opal with turquoise shone blue with enamel. The sapphire sparkled. The little splinter beams drank their fill of the wine and ambrosia, became intoxicated, struck against the tiny crystals that Chiron had placed in the pits, and rushed headlong out of the eyes back towards the sun, entangling their paths. And here Phoenix cried out, "The darkness has left me. Chiron, I see you. I have regained my sight." But Chiron the healer shook his head again as before, and, brushing the green golden fly off his haunch with his horsetail, said, "It is still early. That is your eye seeing the sun, but you yourself do not yet see the sun. It has not entered your heart, has not remained there as a warm beam. Only one who loves the sun is sighted. But one can live even so, as half-sighted. To become sighted, learn to love the sun, as Asclepius loves the sun." The child god, the conqueror of the iron boar, smiled in answer to Chiron's words. He embraced the horse leg of the immortal centaur, pressed himself to it, and, throwing his head back, said, "Yes, father, I and the little serpent, we love the sun." And the enormous Chiron, the son of Cronus, lifted the child from the ground with his human palm and seated him on his horse back, and then neighed so merrily with his human mouth for his delight, and walked with a wide amble, with the child god on his back, there, up along the path, to the forests and meadows of Pelion. Then Actaeon cried out to Melanippe, "Let us gallop too, Melanippe," and laid his palm on her back, on the place where the hollow is on a horse's haunch. Melanippe and Actaeon flashed a sidelong glance at each other, and took off with a leap from the spot into a gallop. A splendid leap, Chiron's. And after them, in pursuit, two birds took off from a tree, and after the birds, two winds. But they are no match. The heroes and guests went their separate ways. Only Phoenix remained in the clearing. He lowered himself alone onto the grass under a giant plane tree and fell into thought. His eyes see the world, but not as they used to see it, but yet in a different way. They see the invisible. They see not just the simple truth, but also the truth of wonders. Surely, these wonder eyes are not just ordinary eyes. But why should he see the invisible? He is not a titan, not a god. It is better to see the world simply, like all the sighted. And the sight regained Phoenix fell into thought again. The tale of the two roots of knowledge. Chiron stepped slowly with the child god on his horseback. He peered searchingly at the grasses and often stopped, feeling the soil with his foot. "What are you looking for, father?" asked Asclepius. "I am looking for healing roots." And then, carefully digging the earth with his hoof, he pulled a hairy plant out of the ground with his hand. "One root I have found," said Chiron. "Let us find the second." Soon, in a shady, secluded place, he pulled out one more root. After shaking the earth off the roots and washing them in a spring, Chiron galloped to the very peak of Pelion, holding both roots in his hand. One root was black and short, the other was white and long. On the peak of Pelion, Asclepius jumped off the back of the immortal centaur, and both sat down on the turf, the centaur Chiron and the child god Asclepius. An attractive force, unknown to Asclepius, emanated from the roots in Chiron's hands, and the child god looked at them with greedy curiosity. "Taste of this," said Chiron, and extended the white root to Asclepius. The child god bit into it, and said, "It is sweet. This is the root of Knowledge. It is sweet, but its fruits are bitter." And Chiron extended to him the second root. "Now taste of this one as well." Asclepius bit into the second root as well, and, without spitting the piece out of his mouth, said, "It is bitter, but I will eat it, since you gave it to me, father." And the child god ate a piece of the black, bitter root. And when he had eaten it, he said to Chiron, "It seems to me that it has become sweeter. And this bitter root is also the root of Knowledge, said Chiron. "But its fruits are sweet." Holding both roots in his hands, Asclepius peered at them attentively. Then, pointing to the sweet root, the child god asked Chiron, "What is in it?" And Chiron answered, "The joy of thought that conquers death." "And what is in the bitter root, father?" The bitterness of thought. Tell me about these roots, Asclepius asked Chiron. And Chiron told Asclepius. Mother Earth Gaia gave birth to the sweet root of knowledge, and still sweeter were its fruits. For the joy of her children, she created this root. But the gods comprehended that knowledge is power, and they made its fruits bitter for mortals. And when the seeds from the bitter fruits fell onto the soil, from these seeds grew the bitter roots of knowledge, and the gods gave these bitter roots to mortals. But when from these bitter roots fruits grew, the fruits turned out to be sweet.